July is here, my fellow creator, which means that it's time to crack your knuckles and fire off some sponsorship pitches. And as always, I've done all the research for you on 12 different brands. And regardless of what niche you're in, I want you to pay special attention to how you can use some of these pitching strategies for yourself. So brand number one is an internet browser. And so what are the types of creators or influencers that you think they'd want to partner with? Probably like tech enthusiasts, things like that, right? Would it surprise you if I said that they are sponsoring supercar enthusiasts? Well, that's exactly what happened. They hired this guy named The Stradman, and this video is called The Carbon Aventador is Done, which is like a supercar, right? And so clearly this video is about a project that this creator has been working on for a really long time. I mean, he does a lot of these kind of very large automotive projects. And so, he probably went to this browser and said, hey, I think that this video is going to perform really well. Would you like to be integrated into that? And so sure enough, 1 million views on this video for the Opera browser. So I wanted to start here because it seems like it's kind of out of left field, right? Like, is this even related to the content that this creator is putting out? And the unlock here is that you don't always have to just be boxed in to the sponsors of the exact type of content that you're making, as long as you can make a compelling case to not only the sponsor, but know and feel confident in your heart that it's going to serve your audience. That can be a really compelling partnership. So the next brand that you should pitch hired a creator named Lauren Welcome to do a fall night routine with their product. And you might be thinking, why are we pitching a brand a fall night routine in July? Well, the larger the brand gets, the further in advance they have to plan their marketing campaigns. So if you're trying to get a deal right now, this July, pretty unlikely, right? Instead, it's a better strategy to go back and see what campaigns were they running last fall and see if they might be running that again this year. So make sure to use that pitching angle when you pitch FabFitFun. So the next brand that you should pitch is a toy company. And this one's kind of interesting because they're specifically promoting that the products are now available on Amazon, which is a specific retailer. I ran an influencer marketing agency for about 7 years, and this was a very common ask when brands would come inbound to hire my agency to run campaigns. It was like, hey, we want people to just spread the word that our products are now available in these specific retailers. So the brand is Super Moose Toys, and they hired this creator named I Am Sarah to spread the word about their Beast Lab and how it's available on Amazon now. And so when you reach out, you could pitch two different things. You could say, number one, how's that going? How's it going that product is now available on Amazon? And maybe you do a little bit of your own research and say, hey, are there any other retailers that you're going to be launching at later this year, especially for the holiday season? Because I would love to help you spread the word about that. So the next brand that you should pitch is a vitamin company, and they hired a creator named Aspen Ovard to talk about how their products are helpful for women who are pregnant. And in fact, if you actually go to their website, they show a bunch of different use cases for their products. So they have bundles, they have a multivitamin, they have applications for pregnancy, sleep and stress relief, gut health, skin and protein. And so the brand is Ritual. And one takeaway here is that when you see a brand hiring a creator to talk about a specific feature or benefit or use case for a product, don't just assume that that's the only consumer that they're trying to market to. You can maybe go to their website and see like, oh wow, they actually have, maybe on their blog, they have a bunch of information about how their products are good for this other consumer category that I actually think aligns really well with my audience. So maybe I should focus my pitch around that. So the next brand that you should pitch is a women's fashion brand, and they hired a creator named Takaya Denise to talk about how they have everything from intimates down to loungewear, but critically, they required her to use a very specific hashtag in her caption. And so the brand is called Nix, and she added hashtag Nix Ambassador. What do you think happens when you click on the hashtag Nix Ambassador? Oh wow, it shows every single post of every single creator that they've hired. And oh wow, what's the first thing that catches my eye? Win a prenatal care package? I want to see this. Wow. So another creator named Laura is doing a giveaway with a bunch of stuff, including some Nix nursing pads. So you could reach out to the brand and say, hey, I love that collaboration that you did with Laura. I have a bunch of expectant moms in my audience who would go crazy for a giveaway like this. I would love to amplify this campaign in the following ways. Boom, 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 boom. boom. So the next brand that you should pitch is a home security company that sponsored a creator called The Crafted Workshop for a video titled Ultimate Mercedes Sprinter Camper Van Build, Windows, Racks, and Gutting. So on the surface, you might think like, how is this even related to home security? But again, it goes back to thinking about the audience psychographics. Are the people that love doing these types of DIY projects, is that the same type of person who might be interested in home security? And so the brand is SimpliSafe. And I had actually a funny anecdote here. One of my students, Christian Taylor, who participated in my 7-day pitch challenge, he's also an alumni of my Brand Deal Wizard course. You know, he has a channel all around online privacy and online security and things like that. And he recently did a poll on his YouTube community tab and asked people like how interested they were in home security. And the most interesting part of this survey was that the vast majority of respondents said that they were interested. And so here he was in this box thinking that like, wow, I can only talk about this one thing. But the moment that he actually involved his audience, he actually acted interested in like, hey, what's going on in their lives? What interests do they have? It makes it so much more palatable for you to think about other sponsors that may be a bit orthogonal or maybe parallel to your current content format. But now when you reach out to a brand like SimpliSafe, for Christian's example, he could say, hey, I just polled my audience and 70% of them said that they're really interested in home security. I would love to collaborate with you. How powerful would that be? So the next brand that you should pitch is a kitchenware brand that hired a creator named T. Beeston to talk about how Christmas came early. This partnership was in November of 2023, so a little bit before the holiday season. But interestingly, in the caption, it says, hey, you can save up to 20% site-wide on the brand's products. The brand is Caraway. And so were you to reach out to the brand, you could say, hey, I was curious, are you going to be running that 20% off promotion again this fall or this holiday season? Because remember, a lot of brands, they don't reinvent the wheel from a marketing perspective every year. They just take the same campaign that they ran last year, they dust it off and they run it again. So the next brand that you should pitch is a hair brand that hired a creator named Nneka Elliott to talk about how their products are useful as the winter months approach. Are you realizing a common theme here as we talk through these brands, right? As we get closer to the fall or the winter or the holiday season, brands are running seasonal campaigns almost all the time, right? And so even if you can't identify a campaign that they ran last year that had a seasonality component, you can still pitch them something. You can say, hey, like this is how I think about your brands or your products or your services and their utility for this time of the year. Even if you have never done something like that before, I think that could be really powerful. The brand is Nexus, by the way. So the next brand that you should pitch is an electronics retailer, and they hired a creator named Tasalti to do a best gift ideas you need. Gift guides are hugely popular and very effective. And so if you notice that a brand has hired creators to do a very specific format in the past, chances are they're going to be down to try that format again with you. I found that a lot of creators have a tendency to try to reinvent the wheel with their sponsorship pitches. Oftentimes they'll reach out and they're pitching something incredibly novel, something that the brand has never done before. And the brand is just like, I don't know, this feels a little too scary. We've never done anything like this before, especially if you're asking for a lot of money. Now we're just going to pass. So just remember, it is also okay to not reinvent the wheel when you're pitching Best Buy. So the next brand that you should pitch is a house linen brand, and they hired creators Our Tribe of Many to, look, there we go, another 25% off site-wide sale. So the brand is Brooklinen. And so again, you can reach out to Brooklinen and say, hey, saw that you were doing this campaign last year. Are you going to be running that campaign again this year? So the next brand that you should pitch is a food brand that hired a creator named Mary Oretta to talk about how awesome their crackers were for movie nights and just family time around the holidays. I noticed that her Christmas tree was very prominently displayed in this photo, and maybe that's what the brand asked for. But one thing that you can potentially pitch when you reach out, of course, you could say, hey, you're going to be running that campaign again this year. But also you could say, hey, I can provide you multiple versions of this asset that do and do not include holiday decor. Because one thing that including this type of thing in the asset does is it limits the repurposability of the asset, meaning that they can't continue to post that photo on Instagram or embed it on their website after December 31st, basically, right? And so by showing that you have that kind of next level thinking that like, hey, you can actually continue to use this non-holiday asset for another 3 months or another 6 months. Of course, you're going to be charging them for that privilege, but that instantly differentiates you from every other creator that's reaching out. And by the way, the brand is Awesome Foods. So the next brand that you should pitch is a sparkling wine brand. And I am going to take an L here because I do not know how to pronounce this brand. I'm going to give it a shot. Ready? Freixenet. Freixenet? Freixenet. I don't know how to pronounce it, but please let me know, by the way. They hired a creator named Aisha, and it was kind of like a Great Gatsby themed party that they're doing. But very interestingly, I was looking at the caption here, and at the very bottom, it says, funded by the European Union. This is like very surprising to me. Oftentimes you'll find these campaigns where two entities will partner up, and they'll each have kind of differing interests for why they're trying to collaborate. But it might be worth it to reach out to this brand and say, hey, I saw that you were doing these collaborations with the European Union. I think that's really fascinating. I'm curious if you have any other initiatives like that where you're partnering up with other associations, other geographic entities, tourism bureaus, things like that. Would love to participate. I know what you're thinking, Justin, I want more brands that I can pitch. Well, make sure to click this video right here.